Ready when you are, CB. Do I start in Canada or Mexico?
We didn't do Animal
Are
Kingdom.
we really AK haters?
From New York, Dillo's Diz Live, starring Frank and Jen Dillo. This is Mr. Snidillo in studio along with music by Matt Harvey, inviting you to join the Dillos and their guests while they tangent and wax nostalgic. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Frank and Jen.
Oh, look at you jumping up right away. Hello, everyone. I was about to be here solo and then just start complaining about Frank, which would have been fun. But instead, here we both are.
Well, I haven't started talking yet, so I don't even really know how it's going to be.
It's all right. It's okay
so far. So far? Well, we're going to do a nice little Theme Park Thursday recording here. And as I'm setting up, I realized that my laptop, which I know was charging about maybe this morning, I knew it was charging.
Yeah.
And you had power. Now it has nothing. It's dead.
It's fantastic.
So, you can't put the kid to bed and then come and like, oh, I have no power on anything. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. It's fine. It's just windy and rainy in New York, so I'm sure signals will be great anyway. And then
yeah, not as rainy and windy as it is under Spaceship Earth earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, that looked nuts. I also saw some transportation and ticket center footage, and I'm like, oh my lordy, it was crazy over there.
Yeah, it's been, I feel like, I mean, in some ways, I'm glad it hasn't been snow here in New York City the past. Yeah. Jen, I know you mentioned that the branding was all off, but I know you just got to flip the drop-down menu from What's in the Attic to Dillo's Diz Resort.
I see. Let me see. Oh, we're up here. Oh, I see. All the way up there.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, where are all the videos? I don't have the intro. I was just sending myself.
Jumped on without the intro?
No, I did the intro.
Okay.
But I didn't have it in here. And then I'm like searching for it on my phone so that I could send it to my computer again so I could upload it right before we went on. So got it now. Hello to everyone in the chat.
Yeah.
I see that you may have been upside down when you first popped on. Is Frank still upside down to everyone? Because I see him right side up.
Oh, was I upside down originally?
I don't know. Maybe there's some chatter about that. So I'm just double checking. I should also say that this evening, for the first time in forever, ever, we are on X Live.
Oh, yeah.
I think
it's a good night to start that.
We should probably see if we're actually on the X Twitter. Oh, it says we are.
Mm.
Oh my goodness, look at that. Well, so we are on YouTube, Facebook, and X Twitter tonight. So we're in all the places, and Frank is on his perfect setup to be in all of these places tonight.
I know. I got my technology rolling great.
Yes.
The X Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this is technically a little pre-show talk now. We were supposed to take this to DillosDizResort.com immediately following for the guests at DillosDizResort.com to hear the remainder of our stories that will officially, finally, as the finale for March Madness is happening this weekend.
Yes.
The Final Four is this weekend. So with the Final Four happening at the NCAA tournament, we will finally release the brackets.
Well, ish.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that over at the resort because a lot of the planning has to go into that.
I can't guarantee that the phone battery that I'm currently holding is going to hold down for that long. So if we can get a podcast recording in, I'm going to be delighted.
All right. We'll see how the rest of the evening goes. It's supposed to. I hear a bait and switch coming, Lewis says.
Lewis, you see what I'm doing here? I have my new contraption here that I'm putting together just so it looks like I'm conducting a podcast normally.
Yeah, attempting.
Pretending.
It's the attempt. All right, then we should start the podcast.
I would
hello-
ask Jen if you can. There's that quote from Bob Iger that I texted with you. If you could
Yes.
just bring that up and read that at the top, so we could talk about it before
Yes.
we officially get started.
Officially. I have to scroll in our text messages above this other news you just dropped right before we came on here too.
No, you can't share that news.
I'm not sharing it.
No.
I'm saying I can't. I was
No.
looking at it. I had to scroll above it.
And you're like, what?
Mhm.
What?
Yeah. Overlay. I wanted to maybe put it up on the screen if I could. Oh.
And I know Lewis wants me to have an extra battery, but my phone, like if ever we were going to do a plea to help us at DillosDizResort.com, but something fell out of where you charge the battery for
Oh
my
yeah,
phone.
that's right. You had that happening at 90 Sky. Would you fix that? Also, listen, I mean, we could get into a whole thing. I know that you have something sitting at home that needs to be set up.
Yes.
You need to just set it up. What are you doing? As if we don't do this every single week.
I know. Well, I wasn't expecting a complete failure of the system today.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Let me
So you have the quote ready to go that I can actually start. And just for everyone here on our, I see there's 11 people watching, which I love it. Hello, everyone. I'm Frank. She's Jen. This is Dillo's Diz YouTube channel. We're supposed to be recording tomorrow's audio podcast. My technology has failed. Often when we do this kind of thing at DillosDizResort.com, this is the kind of craziness. This is not just because we're here in public.
Right.
This is often.
Yes. So I have put the screenshots that we have in our little overlay here. So it's a little blurry, but I can read it if you can't see it on your phone. So
all right.
I'll be happy to read it out.
All right. So should I start with the actual, you're going to mark the time so you can do the edit for the audio podcast?
Yeah, sure.
So I got to say this is Theme Park Thursday?
Well, you still got to do that part.
Here on Theme Park Thursday Eve?
Here on Theme Park Thursday Eve. 30-ish.
All right. Okay. Marking the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are here. If you're listening on the audio podcast, this is being recorded the night before Theme Park Thursday. Theme Park Thursday Eve, as it were. And we have weather and technology issues galore.
Yes, 'twas the night before Theme Park Thursday, and we are also, not only do we have weather issues going on, technology issues going on, we're also tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and the X-Twitter for the first time. So, we're doing all the things and just throwing it all out there and see what happens. Why not?
So it was quite the day here, and because at first Jen and I were like, we have a topic, we have a subject, we have something that we're gonna riff on and tangent on for just under an hour or so, and lo and behold, there was the big meeting for Disney today. With no people were coming on the board. No, you're not voted in. George Lucas swept in, and his word saved everyone a couple of weeks back. And I'm not going to get that far into it, but people are kind of grabbing onto a specific Bob Iger quote when he was asked a question about Epic Universe today. So I thought we would start there. Jen has the quote available on hand, and we could just probably deep dive on that a little bit.
All right, so I'm going to show it here on the screen if you're watching us live, but we'll read it as well for the audio listeners. So Iger was asked, with Epic Universe opening up in Orlando 2025, why hasn't Disney prepared anything or placed more than just a handful of attractions in the pipeline to be ready in 2025 at Walt Disney World? Can I just say, first off, I'm already annoyed by this question. Okay, that's all. All right. So Iger says, well, thank you very much for your question, but that couldn't be further from the truth. We've been aware of Universal's plans for a new park for more than a decade, and we have a sophisticated approach to analyzing the needs of all of our businesses and strategically deploying capital. Okay. I can't be stopping after every sentence. Okay. But I just want to remind you of a few things at Walt Disney World during this same period. We opened Pandora, the world of Avatar, at Animal Kingdom in 2017, Toy Story Land 2018, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge 2019, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway 2020 at Hollywood Studios. We also completed a multi-year, multi-billion transformation of Epcot, which included adding Remy's Ratatouille Adventure in 2021, Journey of Water inspired by Moana 2023, and the great attraction Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in 2022. And we reopened just opened Tron Light Cycle Run at Magic Kingdom 2023. So by staggering these major launches, we have been able to commercially and operationally optimize our new offerings over time rather than having to do it all at once. And based on the guest experience we've heard about through all of these, through all of these items I've just mentioned, we know they're extremely popular and they're serving our guests very well. By the way, the agreement we reached with the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District last week will actually enable us to pursue the kinds of investment in our Florida parks that you're talking about. We achieved a win-win result with that deal in terms of our ability to pursue further future development opportunities, but also in terms of the thousands of direct and indirect jobs and economic opportunities in the state that will come with our investment in new projects. So, as we've discussed regarding our $60 billion capital expenditure plans, there's much more coming to our parks around the world, including in Florida. Oof, that was... Mr. Iger, those were a lot of words you used. Just a lot of words.
Where should we start?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is he wrong when you really look at it from 2017 to now, which it was just 10 months before we started this podcast?
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically when we started this podcast, Pandora was new, right? And since that time, doing this podcast, Toy Story Land is open, Galaxy's Edge is open, all these attractions have opened.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say that what has happened cumulatively here in the last 6+ years, almost 7 years, is equivalent to a whole new theme park opening up next year? Last week they dropped the preview for How I Trained My Dragon. And what's the name of that? What is it? How
to Train
How
I Trained My Dragon. I don't know.
Appropriate. So is that, I mean, and let me just say that preview was awesome because you can play that soundtrack on anything, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
Not in the How I Trained My Dragon way, just excited in general.
Just what happens when we're on all the platforms at once.
Today's the day, everyone. Is Bob Iger here making a fair assessment? And would we have ridiculed Bob Chapek if he made the same statement?
Oh, well, I have plenty to say. Let me just interrupt though with Theme Park Rob chiming in that he didn't mention Dillo's Diz beginning, like that was also in that time period. So big things were happening all at once.
That's very fair.
Yeah, that's very fair. Oh Lord. So I mean, Chapek would have been ridiculed for anything he did because that's what we do here. And he wouldn't have said, he was like, we listened to you and you don't want a theme park. You don't want new things. And that's what you guys said. So we didn't do it. First of all, I hate the question. Much like I hate Universal's commercials that go against Disney. It's the same thing for me. I don't like the question because to me, and this is my bias talking, the simple answer is because we don't have to. We're Disney. We don't have to. We don't have to do anything, and it's fine. So that's kind of where I feel like whatever. But in fairness, they have done a lot of things with a pandemic thrown in. So it's been during a very crazy time in these past. When was 2017? How many years ago? I'm saying 5, but I think it's 4.
We lost 2 somewhere.
Right. Anyway, 7. Whatever. What is time? So there's been a lot happening, but I mean, I also think Disney more than ever, maybe I'm just making that up because we've been doing the podcast during that time. So to me, it's more than ever have been just criticized and pulled apart for every decision they've made. And they have rolled things out and then brought them back, or announced things and then brought them back, and blue skied a lot of things. So I feel like a lot of the attention goes to all of the nonsense. It goes to all of the things the people's opinions on what they haven't delivered on, the rumors and the lies on what has been a failure. Movies are a failure. Galaxy's Edge is everything's a failure. And
Right.
it's just so much attention and the negative energy on all of that, especially in social media land, that when you do lay it out of like, hey, we've done all of these things since we've known they were doing this. So there does have to be some credit there. I'm not saying that Epic isn't going to be epic, because
Right.
it will, but there if you love Universal, you love Universal. If you love Disney, you love Disney. If you love theme parks, you love them both, and it's great. But there doesn't have to be this, oh, what are they doing? What are we doing? What are they doing? You guys have been around for a long time. You just do your thing and keep it moving. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's we talk about the 90s a lot here on the podcast, as I see that the debut on the X Twitter today. More people are watching us than usual. Exciting. Welcome. But, we talk about the 90s a lot here, and I always point to, that 1989 when the studios opened. And I mean, if you want to take it all the way to 98 and that 9-year period from when studios opened, #always MGM, to when Animal Kingdom opened, and just look at how much happened in that 9-year period compared to this 7-year period. I mean, yeah, you got 2 full theme parks in that time. We haven't built the theme park since then. That's okay.
Right.
The resorts and the attractions and the Tomorrowland overhaul that happened in the 90s. There was a lot that happened during that time. And yes, in the age of social media, where we're gonna get on Disney about how long Tron has been taking, or how long studios didn't have any attractions, or how long the walls have been up in Epcot. And you got to see it on the other side. Yeah. And now we're almost there. We're almost, maybe some more will happen in the next 2 years. Yeah, I mean, it's that there's a lot there. And if you've never been to Disney before and you're going, wow, I'm going because all this new stuff is happening. I mean, I think that's something to consider.
Yeah. I think, and that's the thing. I think, Disney also just encompasses so much and has multiple theme parks in various states, countries, all the things. They got the movies, they got the merch, they got all these things happening at the same time and are being picked apart for all of it. And I'm not here to be like, oh, poor Disney, they can handle themselves. It's fine. But I do think in the last 7 years, probably especially in the last 4 years, the social media energy towards all the negativity really kind of clouds everything that has been happening, and that they're pretty big things that have been happening that kind of, get overlooked because of everyone's opinions and soapboxes, which we're on right now. So I'm not saying you can't have yours too.
We
but
all like our soapboxes.
Yes, exactly.
And I also, in these last 4 years, perhaps more than ever, I have myself acknowledged, like, wow, I like things that are very divisive. I like wrestling, and I like theme parks, and I like Star Wars movies, and all of those fan bases are so split in so many different directions. And you gotta drift towards the positive sometimes. And with Iger's response here, and we know we're not naive, but he's not wrong.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of cool stuff that has happened, again, since we started this podcast. You're welcome, Disney, for us helping you feel supported by us.
Obviously, it's all been us. Obviously. Jokes. I just wanted to touch on something. Jeffers was saying that basically he's saying that Disney doesn't have to respond to Universal because in fact Epic Universe is their response to what Disney has already done. I mean, that's the thing too. And here's the art of Iger versus Chapek. There's a lot, but for this one thing, as I'm reading this, I am recognizing as I'm reading it out loud, like, my goodness, the fluff in these words and the big words being used and all of the things. But Iger also says things in a way where it does kind of feel like, oh, did you just take a shot at Universal? But I didn't really notice that, but a little bit, I think. Oh, are you like just laying out facts while also not? Whereas Chapek always felt like he was just gaslighting us all the time, and there was just no truth to what he was saying. Whereas Iger, we're like, yeah, I guess we agree with you, Iger. I don't know. I think you said that so perfectly with your big words. I don't know.
But meanwhile, the prices.
Well, sure. I mean, my lord. Oh, by the way, you know what? The Rob was saying that I haven't been on my soapbox this early. Let's continue that for a second. Can I just say these Magic Your Way special deal tickets? Like the 3 parks for this and the 4 parks for this. There's dynamic pricing involved in that. And I, because I didn't do my research the first time, so I was just like, playing around with my fake trips that I like to make every once in a while. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean this is higher? Oh, because of the day I'm looking at, or because I'm looking at in the summer, or because, so these prices aren't actually this deal all the time. It's just certain times. And then they still start lower, but not as low during certain dates.
Early summer, late summer. When were you?
Like early summer. Well, I mean, yeah, like summer break, early summer, but yeah.
Which is surprising because I feel like a lot of this, like this deal, especially, has a lot to do with where, again, back to the 90s, summer is when people went to Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
We've seen that turn over the last 7 or 8 years again. So there is that, summer is our slower period now.
Which is so crazy.
So crazy. I mean, and I know like a lot of that has to do with international travel, but it is so the idea of, if it's not the week of July 4th, then I wouldn't understand why the pricing would be so dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not like crazy jumps, but it's like, why are we okay? You know what?
And no, we're not moving our meetup date. Everybody calm down.
Everyone calm down.
We're trying to get more.
Yeah. We're trying to figure some things out. Yeah, and it just also, I mean, things you can't do, right? You can't compare like a Disney cruise to a Royal Caribbean cruise. Like, never price those two things out going, well, whichever one is cheaper, I'll go on. That's not gonna play out. In the same way, theme park tickets, because we look at various Legoland New York tickets, Legoland Orlando tickets, and then you look at Disney and you're like, good God, just the jump in the prices of, all 4 of us going to a theme park for a day for less than it would be for one of us to go to one theme park in Disney for the day.
Jeffers, I want to emphasize trying. We're trying to go. We're not going more. We're trying to go more. That's especially with that ticket deal. I'm like,
right. Yeah.
My bill is all over the place with different periods of time.
Yeah. So. I'm really like, I don't know if it's the bad weather this week. I don't know what it is, but the Disney itch is like, oh, I need a Disney trip. Even though we were just there in September, it feels like forever ago. And like, I'm like, I need a Disney trip immediately. So I've been playing out different things.
So, I mean, I think long story short is, again, why can't we have both things? Let's have all the nice things.
Yes.
Let's have Universal doing their thing. Let's have Disney acknowledging that they've been doing the thing for a while. Prices notwithstanding.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, in as a whole, the main takeaway of today, as the whole shareholder vote and all that happened, they did reveal some Disneyland concept art for Pandora, the Disneyland version of Pandora today.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks back, we had Matt and Kara on the podcast I was at WWE Raw in Brooklyn, seeing The Rock on Monday night. Both The Rock, star of Disney's Jungle Cruise, now Disney Plus. He was at the Barclays Center for Raw. I was with Matt and Kara, and the thing that came up again was how popular is Avatar and Pandora really?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why we get Pandora. There it is. There it is on the screen if you're watching here live on YouTube. I wonder why it's Pandora over Arendelle or over Zootopia. I wonder what plays into that beyond James Cameron having some kind of blackmail over everyone.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it just, listen, I recognize, and this, I know we don't speak of the animal kingdom often. I recognize Pandora being a really cool land and a very pretty land, and it looks great at night, and there's a lot of detail to it, and it's great. But I'm like, who is loving Avatar this much? And I'm sure there are people.
Yeah. No.
But is there that big of a fan base of it to continue to go, you know what? We're going to do this again over here and expand on this and keep growing it and keep investing into it. It's super interesting, like you said, especially compared to these other lands that they are doing overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a choice where you see, how cool those worlds, those lands look like, and then to decide, hey, we're expanding area in Disneyland again, which always, when they decide on Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, I'm like, where is it going in Disneyland?
Yeah.
I don't understand. Yeah. But they made it work, and it surprises me. And again, our friends over on the Monday Morning Monorail podcast, they were talking a little bit about, Steffers in particular was talking about Zootopia and her love of Zootopia, and how the animal kingdom is getting It's Tough to Be a Bug replaced by a Zootopia film. By the way, Landon announced his big charity for the 12-month charity that's coming up. Listen to the Landon. So make sure you check that out. I think it's a great idea leading up to his 40.
Yes.
Which takes place after I turn 50. That's totally fine. So make sure you check out the monorails this week. But, with all the Encanto, Indiana Jones talk in Dino Land, that seems to be just going on, in a circle. And, and not really talking about Zootopia there either, just in terms of this film replacement. It's just interesting to me that, I mean, I want to at least get to Tokyo Disneyland in my life because I want to visit Tokyo. I don't know if I'm getting to those other parks in the Far East. I don't know.
Yeah. Val's making a good point that it also doesn't take design time if they are just replicating it. True, but I mean, the other lands, you just replicate those. I want some of those other lands. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know where. Don't take anything away, but maybe you want some of those.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and we've talked about this in different. We've talked about Cars Land, Beyond Frontierland. We've talked about options there, and I haven't said Arendelle because my brain doesn't. I can't go from Big Thunder Mountain to Arendelle. Like it doesn't compute. So, but obviously, if you had one land, I mean, I think I'd want to see Arendelle in Florida, but I can't because I don't want to see it Beyond Thunder Mountain.
What else did they have? They had, didn't they have a Neverland Peter Pan thing?
Yeah. Peter Pan.
Peter Pan. Didn't they have the Peter Pan over there?
With your New Yorkies and your Peter Pan.
Get the Peter Pan lands over here.
Peter Pan peanut butter.
What lies beyond Pandora? That's what Jeffers wants to know. That's a good question.
I mean, I listen, and everyone here should be proud of me. All 31 of you watching right now here on the X and the YouTube and the whole thing. Yesterday, I sold Nomad Lounge very hard for a coworker because they were going to spend one day in Animal Kingdom this weekend.
A whole day?
And I was like, have you been to Nomad? It's next to Tiffin's. He's like, oh, I've had Tiffin's. I was like, just go to Nomad. Just get the drinks and the apps and the whole thing. Yeah. I was like, that's it. I was like, I was going in hard on Nomad. Everyone would have been proud of me.
I don't think anyone will be proud of you. Here's why. Because when we talk about the things we like at Animal Kingdom and our half days that we spend there, it always involves Nomad. So this isn't news. You didn't like sell them on, I don't know. Dino Land is coming to mind, just because, even though it's out there. You're not selling them on something different. You're selling them on something we can all agree that is
not selling them on Festival of the Lion King.
Yeah, exactly.
But that the same coworker was like, have you eaten at the Polynesian? I'm like, at Ohana? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, you gotta go to Ohana. Is there a reservation? Just get the reservation. What are you doing?
Did you click on it? Did you get it? You have to reserve that immediately.
I was like, as soon as you see Ohana, you get Ohana.
Figure it out later. If it doesn't line up with your schedule, you figure it out.
And I was like, breakfast or dinner? And he was like, dinner. And I was like, nah, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
I said, I haven't had dinner in a while there, but you gotta do it.
But also, if breakfast opens up, we highly recommend that. It's a great way to start your day.
Right, but that also led into the conversation of the character dining price versus the.
Oh yeah.
I think before we went on the Disney Fantasy in 2022, the characters had not yet returned to Ohana, and that bill was a shock.
Yeah,
it was like, can we eat like this at Ohana all the time?
Right.
For a party of 9?
And then we went back in September. Jeffers always good with getting the Ohana reservations. That is true. But yeah, I have based full trips off of Ohana. There have been times in the past however many years with the kids that were like, should we go to Disney? Let's see if there's no there's no Ohana reservation. We're booking it. Let's go. And that was always our sign that we should do it. Now, there have been times where we check in and there's no Ohana reservation and we're like, but should we go? And maybe one opens up. But still, Ohana will, drive the bus a lot.
So if you could circle things around Ohana and Beaches and Cream, that is. I mean,
what else do you need?
The straws notwithstanding. I'm still hearing about the straws.
I don't want to talk about the straws.
There was I posted over in our Facebook group, the Dillo's Diz Community Core. I've been posting ballpark treats.
Oh, I did notice that. Yes.
So first there was a Chicago White Sox like s'mores shake thing where Jeffers, I think, was the one who pointed out the size of the straw, suggesting it was similar to the current Beaches and Cream straw.
Horrible. The worst.
And then yesterday from the Pirates ballpark, they have a foot-long hot dog that is covered in pot roast and pierogies.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, I would try it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, well, of course. A question, speaking of, because we were all at the Mets game on Easter. That's how we spent our Easter Sunday.
They're playing very well so far.
They're playing fantastic. The 9-year-old couldn't be happier. Who had been keeping track of every game during spring training and so excited and also equally disappointed anytime they would lose, where I would go, these don't count. It doesn't matter. They're just practicing. And now it's loose. Anyway, did you eat that day?
I did not eat that day. No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Mr. Snidillo had gotten me some like chips and queso type of a thing. It's hard to find gluten-free items in at any ballpark. However, I will say at Citi Field, they do have like a whole little hole in the wall area that you can go to, except we were on the opposite side of the park for that, and I wasn't about to walk over there. So some chips and queso. I don't recommend whatever it was. I don't recommend that for in the future. Just FYI.
Citi Field has some really really good ballpark food.
Yes.
I'll chalk it up to why I didn't eat for 2 reasons. First reason, I had a late brunch.
Sure. Yes.
Easter Sunday brunch.
Yeah.
So I was not particularly hungry, and I didn't want to overdo it. Second reason, I was in the middle of the row, and I didn't want to.
How did you handle that overall, the whole game?
It was fine. Those seats were great, so I don't have a. No complaints. But you went into the indoor portion of the level that we were on, where in the past they have had Dole Whip for sale there. Did they not have the Dole Whip there for you to take a picture and get angry at?
I have done that plenty in the past, so I don't know that I needed to repeat it. However, I didn't look around. I was watching the 7 and 8-year-olds just be crazy and going, "Can you just say you have to stop running in front of people? You have to just sit here, just hang out." But they were over by the window for a little while that like overlooks the parking lot. Like all three of them were over there for a while, just hanging out in the sun, warming up a little bit. So I know where it is, so I wasn't like over in that spot to take.
That was going to be the only reason. Like I was like, well, should I just go out and like, we have to do content of Dole Whip? But then it was already too far into the game. I was like, I'm not getting up.
Yeah, I'm not getting up in the middle of the row anymore. Yeah, you know what we should do probably is just go around and do a whole series of Dole Whip tastings where we'll just be unhappy. Spoiler alert, we'll be unhappy on everyone. But we do it at Citi Field, we'll do it at Stu Leonard's, we'll do it at the grocery store again, or we'll just bring up your review of that from last time. Either way.
Funny that you mentioned the grocery store Dole Whip because our friend Charles, who's been on previous Fedora Club episodes in the past, he texted me a photograph of what am I saying? He texted me a photo.
A photograph, a picture.
It was developed in the dark room.
Yeah.
And at the photo mat and of the mango frozen Dole Whip. I don't know why I'm holding it like I have it.
Right, like you have the picture to show.
Dixie cup as it was, of mango Dole Whip. And it was already, I just did like the Homer Simpson screaming face as the response because I didn't really want to go into. I was like, not only is it the frozen Dole Whip, so therefore, like a ready grocery store Dole Whip.
No.
No, but also it's not even pineapple.
No, out all around. Jeffers saying middle of the row, I'm out, enjoy the game. Listen, this was a discussion as we were trying to find 9 seats in Citi Field on Easter. So, it's a little difficult to try to work that. And then I'm like, I think next time maybe we would also, we do 2 computers and split the group a little bit. So it's like in the front and in the back, and maybe we can get end seats somehow that way. And we're just in a section like that instead of across one row anyway. But we are the same way, Jeffers, where usually, especially growing up going to Islander games, the beginning of the row. We're always beginning of the row people. So it was different.
And to say in like that scenario, for 2 seasons, I think in Shea Stadium, Papadillo had tickets on the aisle at Shea. I think the last 2.
He had them at Citi Field too 1 year.
But then you get everyone coming out of the row the whole game. And so sometimes sitting in the middle at a baseball game is okay because you're not just inundated with up and down, up and down.
That's true.
As I was at Monday Night Raw on Monday night. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And the Barclays Center seats are horrible. They're so bad up top. I don't understand. You're a new arena. Like newish at this point. Like what, 10 years?
I was going to say, wait, how long has it been?
All right, it's not that old, but it's like I don't understand how it's like Blue Basic up there. No,
we love Blue Basic, by the way. So
let me tell you something. If there's one thing that Mrs. Dillow gives me the hardest time about, it is Blue Basic. Yeah. She is like, "How old are you?
Yeah,
get a seat in advance. Why are you waiting until the night before? Why?"
Yeah, I was looking up prices again for our flights for the Disney cruise, and I keep checking them here and there, and they're just ridiculous. But also, I came across one where Blue Basic was sold out. I was like, "Oh, it's sold out! What? What do you mean?" Not that all of us flying down where Disney cruise are taking Blue Basic, but just saying, I was shocked.
We just booked flights for Myrtle Beach. In the summer, and the spoiler alert, I'll be in the Carolinas. Don't tell Steffers.
Is she watching? Is she one of the 36 watching right now?
But we did I went through the Google flights and ended up. I was like, JetBlue, if you're not gonna give me what I'm looking for, and I don't even know, JetBlue doesn't even go to Myrtle Beach, but whatever. But that was the first time we went directly into the Google, or at least I did. Felt comfortable going in Google Flights to do it that way.
I can. Theme Park Rob, you want to see me rant? I should do a whole rant on airlines somewhere at some point. I'll save it. I won't do it here today, but I'm a little annoyed by airlines lately, and so I can't. I can't.
Before this most recent experience, or because of this most recent experience?
Sure, but this recent experience is just its own disaster.
Right.
But no, just overall of like what airlines have become is very annoying to me, and I don't like you walk on the plane, it's hundreds of dollars. Now, do you want a seat? You want to know your seat? Oh, well, now you have to pay. Do you want to carry a bag on? Well, now you want to pay. Certain airlines, do you want to talk to someone at the airport? You have to pay for that. Like, I can't.
Did I see a story about an airline or two, or maybe more, considering like if it's a carry-on, we're going to count your purse. We're going to count it. Or we're going to count.
Yeah, I think it's getting so insane.
If you buy like some merch at the Universal store or the Disney store in Terminal C, and listen, can I land in Terminal B so I can see the carpet MCO? But if I can't bring that bag on a certain airline anymore because I bought souvenirs at the terminal. No, come on.
Yeah. No, I'm telling a rant for maybe at DilosDisResort.com. Maybe I'll do a rant over there one day about airlines.
You might be ranting by yourself if I don't have the.
Oh, that's true. It could happen tonight. I'll just sit there by myself ranting to the void.
To that, for folks who might not know and are watching here on the X Twitter or otherwise, or here on the YouTube channel, or if you're just listening right now on the audio podcast, our meetup is scheduled for September, in and around Friday, September 13th. That is the plan. I don't know how much longer we're going to be really calling it Find Frank for 50. I think it's pretty clear, like based on these 3 day, like you're gonna know where I am. But all that information.
We still have to set something up. I'm going to set something up where we hide you and we have to find you.
But all that information, other than we'll give you specifics of the dates once we book the reservation, which is still sitting in my cart. But all the details will be at DilosDisResort.com, DilosDisResort.com. Of course, that is our Patreon with memberships beginning as low as $1 per month. Right now, you can do hashtag Dilos Madness. March Madness is going on with all 32 of our stories. You can join for free on our Patreon. Go to the Patreon, DilosDisResort.com, click join for free, and participate in hashtag Dilos Madness. But then the other information, like such as what's in our $1 Discord, will be forthcoming here in the next 5 months. That's 5 months away, everyone.
What is time?
How has it been 7 months since September?
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. Something we're not discussing tonight, but I think we will probably need to discuss next week.
Yes.
So you have homework between now and next week is to watch Wish, because that has dropped today as we record this on April 3rd on Disney Plus.
No, I will probably get that in before next week. I mean, it is WrestleMania weekend coming up, but I do have plans to watch Wish as well. I said to the 8-year-old tonight, I said, do you know Wish is on Disney Plus now? She's like, I heard at school today. I was like, okay.
We talked about it at lunch. It's not a big deal.
I still haven't watched the Taylor Swift Eras Tour because they watched it when we were at 90s Con.
Yeah.
So that's still on my list. As I do. I want to see the Eras Tour.
I know. The kids, although they became like half Swifties while you guys were staying here that weekend because of the 8-year-old, they still were like, "Oh, you want to watch? Because we kind of want to watch it." And they're like, "No," and we're like, "Come on, we want to watch it." Also, just to say, the 9-year-old today, as we were driving to school, was talking about how if the 8-year-old lived here by us, that she would be in his school next year, and then then he was fast forwarding to high school when all three of them would be in the school at the same time for 1 year. Oh no, two. Well, they would be in the same school for 2 years, but all three of them in the same school for 1 year in high school. And he was like, I wish. Oh, I almost said her name in front of a lot of people. I wish the 8-year-old lived with us. I'm like, I know, but we'll get a compound someday. Don't worry.
The Dillo's Diz Snidillo Studios compound.
Yes, exactly.
Year 10.
Yeah, year 10. When we talk about the mid 2000s to get a compound.
Mid 2000s. So to say that, yeah, we'll talk about Wish next week because I have a lot of questions. I also noticed, right, because we have the 8-year-old and I had been going to a lot of movies in the fall. We always going to like one movie a week. Disney was doing the Disney 100 movies, and then I didn't get to see Wish because she went on a field trip and I got left in the dust.
Yes.
And but I this past weekend I was like, oh, maybe something's playing at the movies. Let's see what's playing. And I noticed that they were doing a special weekend screening of Luca, right? And that's what Pixar had announced, like, oh, we're going to show Soul. We're going to show, and like, again, Disney, can you market this stuff? Like, maybe I would have seen Luca in the movie if I had more than like 12 hours notice.
Yeah. And can you also put it out in more movie theaters?
I know that Soul happened a while ago. I don't remember when the rest of them were happening, but what are we doing? Like, just market some stuff. Just put on a commercial. Do something.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I didn't understand the Disney 100 ones. That for me, like the closest theater would have been going to you to see. Why am I driving? I'm in the burbs where there's a million movie theaters. Why do I have to go to Queens to see a Disney 100 movie? I don't understand.
Yeah, so that is something to be considered. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on. The other big thing this month, and I don't know when I'm gonna, as I'm just talking out loud, this month, the end of this month, is the 60th anniversary of the 1964 World's Fair. So I secretly don't have a plan for that, but I want to do one of these, right? Where like you're either, you're in studio.
Yeah.
And I'm walking around the park.
Yeah.
Just on like close to the anniversary. I know I'm going to be away, I think, on the actual anniversary, but in and around that time, I would do like an hour plus, just walk around the Unisphere and some of the structures. The New York Pavilion still stands. That's also known to some of you as the Men in Black attraction at Universal Orlando. But I do want to do some of that this month as well, because I think it'd be a lot of fun.
What if both of us went and then we were each live and we were in this setup, but we're in different areas? Well, now I'm over here and this is the spot where, and we like go back and forth.
Yeah, I'm flying. I'm taking a substantial flight in a couple of weeks. So to and from, like, I feel like on my list is like to do some reconnaissance on the park, Flushing Meadows, Flushing Corona Meadows Park. I never say them in order. Flushing Meadows Corona Park. I don't know. And see like what path would I take and what would I do on something like that, and then maybe we could divide and conquer or something. But a couple of years ago, it had to be fall of 2020 that we had Lloyd Truffleman on, who does a lot of tours in the city and does tours of Flushing Meadows Park, and kind of they were doing, I think they still do, I think they just did one recently, a virtual tour of the site, and that was real fun to talk about the New York World's Fair, and maybe we have to bring that back up.
Did you say that was fall 2020?
I think so.
What is time?
Well, right. Happy birthday to Heisa von Winklehoff.
Yeah.
Hey, it's his birthday here on Wednesday night, Theme Park Thursday Eve. And so I pulled up the footage of doing the Beauty and the Beast prologue with him, which, again, one of my favorite things ever in this podcast to do on the fly with no preparation whatsoever. And he, and I was like, whoa, this was 3 years ago. And he was like, what? This is 3 years ago. What is it?
It's crazy. I don't understand what's happening.
Jeffers asking, back to Iceland. It comes up a lot, Jeffers. Because of the ease it was to travel.
Yeah.
And I will also say, and this good we like to often reflect, and we're not going to live there, mind you, but we often reflect on how safe everything felt there. Where and I live in New York City, so that's one thing entirely. But in Paris, in Rome, in Florence, it's very much like pin your belongings to your skin to make sure it doesn't get pilfered from your body.
Yeah.
And, so to be able to, it was a lot of comfort in going to Iceland, where you also I don't have to learn French or anything, because God knows I can't retain a French word to save my life, and to go there and have the language comfort and also the safety comfort were really big parts of the enjoyment of that trip.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. We had started finally watching Eugene Levy show on Apple TV Plus, Apple. And so he's travels around to different places or whatever, and he was in Finland, I think. And we're like, oh man, I mean, aside from the cold, it looks pretty awesome. It looks pretty nice there, but like me freezing at the Mets game the other day, I don't know that I could go to Finland and
well. And when you brought the kids, or whoever, I don't know who, I think Mrs. Dillo said like, oh, they're going to warm up inside. I'm like, Jen's the only one that's cold. I don't think the kids were complaining that there was cold.
No, the 7-year-old was, and so she wanted to go. She walked with Mr. Snidillo and the 9-year-old, and then they said they went to just go get something though. I forget what. Oh, maybe no, I don't remember what they did. And then I got a text going, now we're inside warming up in case the 8-year-old wanted to join. So then I was like, hey, 8-year-old, do you want to go join them? And then I went, but in fairness, I wasn't. Luckily, outside the stadium, I had been freezing. I mean, relatively. I wasn't as cold as in Disney in January. But I was cold waiting outside the stadium because the wind was so crazy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to sit there and freeze with this wind. Luckily, you didn't really feel that in our seats. So it was nice until I started like moving again and would feel the like as you're moving through the corridors and stuff because it's so windy up there. But yeah, and then also I don't recommend that coffee I had either, but I different things. I am cold everywhere. Theme Park Rob, that is correct. The 7-year-old, she was cold at the Mets game, and then she was cold somewhere else the other day, and she's like, I feel like I'm you all of a sudden. Why am I cold all the time? I'm like, well, that's fair.
And just to say, I have not talked about this on the podcast. And I realize I'm not like that mic'd, so I don't know what happens when I lower my voice a little bit. But Jen's house is so warm. It is just warm in that house all the time. I'm like, how do you live? How do you sleep? It's so warm.
Did you lower the temperature in the house?
No, I wouldn't mess anything up.
I would have just told you how to do it.
No, I'm not messing it up.
That's really funny. So the house is pretty much, and it's going to sound way warmer because to me, I don't know, like my feet are ice right now, just sitting in this office, but the house is typically at like 72, which I know sounds really warm, but I swear that if it dips below 72, I wake up sometimes and I'm like, my face is cold. There's something wrong with the heat. And I'll go out and it'll be down to like 70. I mean, sometimes it'll be a lot lower than that if like something got screwed up. But I'm like, why is it so cold? I can feel such a difference. Now, also, I know when it gets like that 72 mark, if it goes 73, I'm like, it's so hot in here. Why is it so hot? It's so gross in here. Yeah. Now the kids' room is right above like the boiler room. So their room is just hot all the time. And
crazy.
It's the worst.
Anyway. I don't know how you kids do it in here.
I know. And they're like, we want 10 blankets on us. I'm like, why? I don't need it.
I don't know. It's wild.
Yeah.
All right. So next week we'll talk about Wish. We'll talk about I assume we'll be finally into hashtag Dillo's Madness. All the stories would have been released. And again, you can join for free at DillosDizResort.com. There's still time because we're still sharing our stories. 32 Dillo stories from 4 decades. I guess this is technically the 5th decade of our Disney experiences, right? 80s, 90s to mid 2000s. There's not many stories there. 2010s, and right, that's 5 decades. Fine. We're totally fine.
It's fine.
But we're sharing 32 of our favorite stories for this year's hashtag Dillo's Madness. We're about to match them all up once we release the final 8 stories. But you can join for free at DillosDizResort.com. Maybe I'll have some real technology next week. We shall see. I can't believe I've made it through this podcast here today. So there is that. Thanks to everyone watching here on the YouTube channel or on X. Apparently, X is the place to be.
I guess so. Maybe we'll be back next week.
This is the largest audience that we have had
in a very long time.
since the Parks and Monorail's Most Magical Hour.
That's true. Yes.
So for all of you who've been watching or who are you maybe listening, make sure you go to DillosDizResort.com and just join for free and just hang out. And then if you want, you pay $1 a month to go to the one channel Discord where the craziness truly happens. But those of you in the chat, thank you very much. We're going to go over to DillosDizResort.com to tell some stories right now. Probably be shortened versions of those stories because, again, how much battery is left on Frank's electronic device?
Yes.
Until next time, Jen is going to have to end the live broadcast. But she's Jen, and I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces.